I'm Brittany, this is Chuaning, and welcome to Gaywatch, where we watch and read gay things. Today, we are continuing through Erha Volume 11, and we'll actually be finishing one of the bonus stories today. And here's how it works. We read for a couple of hours, we take a break around halfway through, and we usually read about 40 to 50 pages, depending on the day. And we also have a book chat on Tuesdays and Thursdays just before this stream at 2:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for YouTube members and patrons to talk about what we read in the reading streams. So next Tuesday, we'll be talking about what we read today. If you're looking for more queer bookish chats, there is an evergreen link down to the public version of the Gaywatch Discord down in the description box, along with some trigger warnings for Erha, should you need them. So, first things first, one, I'm sorry we started a little bit late. It's the summer and we live in North Carolina. So I saw a wasp, not in the house, thank God, but in a precarious position. I had to call the bug guy, basically, in between the book chat and now. I had to call the bug guy. So pardon me for getting started late. Just more important, let's be honest, way more important. Somebody was very, very kind, and I'm going to do my best to pronounce this name. Chintao gave $50 and a lovely little message that said, oh no, it says, I can't stick around because I'm not this far in the series yet. I just started your book 5 read along, but I just wanted to stop by and say that I really appreciate these streams and find them really fun and enjoyable. Thank you, Chintao. That's so nice of you. Thank you so much. That's deeply fucking helpful. Thank you. Can I, in fact, wait, can I Can I? I can. I acknowledged it. I didn't even realize I could do that. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Juntao. We are on page. Hang on. I need to be able to get back to see what you guys are saying. Hello. Why? Chat just thought it was nice to not keep me updated. Thank you. I need to know the goings on in the chat. Thank you, YouTube. We are on page 191 for chapter 19. We're closing in on the end of this bonus story. So are we gonna roast or not till later? Liv and I are in agreement that maybe we'll finally get the Chuaning gay panic, at least. I don't know anymore. I was really confident at one point, and now I just don't know. She's too unpredictable, this woman. Okay. Chuaning, Morun, Taobao Estate. The combination of these three things inevitably made Chuaning recall a traumatic incident from the past. Taehyunjun had once told him that Chuaning and Morun had had sex in Taobao Estate right in front of him, with only a bed curtain separating them. I forgot that happened at Taobao Estate. Ooh. That's how you open a chapter. The psychological damage Chuaning had sustained as a result of this knowledge was incalculable. If he could go back in time, he'd have definitely cut off Taehyunjun before the first word even left his lips. "Stop talking," he'd have yelled. "I got the picture." Do you now? But the past was already written, and he had to live with it. In order to defeat the scroll spirit, Chuaning allowed Elder Chen Shuyan to send a letter to his shizun and cousin, inviting Chu Zongshe to come down the mountain and provide assistance. The reference to him as cousin has me emotional. At that point, they could only wait. Nanping Mountain was right next to Westlake, very close to Taobao Estate. Even without riding a sword, one could walk at a leisurely pace from the misty summit down to the sect in about 4 hours. Yet for some reason, even by daybreak, they had no reply from Chuaning and Morun. That's all right. I'm sure their hands are busy with something very important. Mei Hanshui was a clever young man. He looked at the date, then stood up and said to the crowd, "You should all go and rest. I don't think we'll get a reply before noon." Taobao Estate's disciples had been up all night. When they heard Mei Hanshui's pronouncement, they didn't bother thinking about the implications. I love that Mei Hanshui knows. Stifling their yawns, they all drifted back to their rooms, hoping to catch some sleep. Only Chuaning pondered it in detail. Furrowing his brow, he looked at Mei Hanshui. "Why? My shizun isn't the type to sleep in." Mei Hanshui gave him a small smile. "There's much about your shizun you don't know." "Ridiculous. If you don't believe me, let's make a bet." "Oh?" Seeing Chuaning's indignant expression, Mei Hanshui was intrigued. "What will you bet?" he teased. "I recall you didn't bring much money on this trip." "What do you have to put up?" "Who said I didn't bring money? Hold on." Jaw clenched, Chuaning rummaged around in his pouch. In truth, it wasn't that he didn't bring money. It was rather that, as the newly anointed sect leader, and despite the airs he put on before others, his experience was still very limited. The Xuanji elder worried he might spend rashly, or else be bamboozled by Hua Rui, or some other untrustworthy woman. I'm excited. Thus the elders, and not Chuaning, managed the sect's accounts. Although Chuaning was the sect leader, he received only a modest allowance from the Xuanji elder each month, and much to his chagrin, he'd spent most of it on his extravagant date with Jiang Shi. There's not another way that you could have phrased that. She's just fucking with us. But if she gave us bet, pay up first time, I would forgive her all the torture that she has put us through about this. She won't. She won't. She's purely fucking with us. But I'm just saying, I want to go on the record and say, that's a way to make me forgive you. And Jiang Shi hadn't even been impressed. The way Jiang Shi, as Miss Dayflower, had looked at him with such disdain, he'd clearly thought Chuaning was poor. And that was to say nothing of his dates with Taishanjun and the rest of those weirdos. Shui Ziming, darling of the heavens, had been fleeced so badly by these seducers and seductresses, he practically needed to count his toilet paper before going to the bathroom. Can we phrase that in another way? But in the name of defending Chuaning's honor, sect leader Shui had to ante up. He'd have his toilet paper consumption if needed. Mei Han Shui watched as Shui Meng dug out a sad little pile of copper coins from every nook and cranny of his pockets. Altogether, it was probably less than 50 coppers, but Shui Meng slammed it on the table like it was 5 million. 2 coins bounced off and plunked to the ground. Mei Han Shui blinked. I bet you my Shizun will be here by the time breakfast's over, Shui Meng said firmly. And if he doesn't make it, all this will be yours. Mei Han Shui looked at the pathetic heap of coppers, then at Shui Meng. I heard Chu Zongshe once said that small bets beget cheer and large bets beget ruin, so you might as well go for ruin, he said with a grin. Let's forget about the money and bet something a little more thrilling. How about that? She's not going to do it. She's not. She's just not. This isn't going to be how this happens. We can all just calm down. It's going to be something fucking diabolical, but it's not going to be that. Like what? Like running naked through the streets or selling your talents in a brothel. Shui Meng visibly recoiled. Mei Han Shui frowned. What nonsense are you spouting? Mei Han Shui covered his mouth with a hand, smothering his laughter. I'm just teasing. Now let me think. He crossed his arms, his eyes twin crescents of amusement. How about this? Whoever loses will dress up as a girl according to the winner's specifications. Shui Meng furrowed his brow, vexed. Seriously, Mei Han Shui, did I force you to cross-dress before or something? Why are you so fixated on this? Now, both Mei Han Shui and Mei Han Shui fixed him with inscrutable stares. Shui Meng felt the air on the back of his neck rise. He's being, it's like prey. It's like the prey when you are prey, you are from 2 looking at What are you guys looking at me like that for? He stammered. I was just joking. Of course I never did such a thing. I've always been an upright and honest person. I've never picked on the weak. That's right, Mei Han Shui said blithely. You're the best. Oh, to say nothing of the fact that he accidentally made... The double implications of this. See, I told you it was going to be diabolical. I fucking told you. Shuimeng blinked. Why did he have a bad feeling about this? Unfortunately, his premonition was correct. He waited, his hope turning to disappointment, then to despair. Finally, early in the afternoon, he heard a disciple cry out from outside the estate. Chuzongsha and Mozongsha have arrived. Chuaning's hair was bound neatly up in a jade crown, his white robes floating gracefully behind him. His bearing was as cool and ethereal as ever, but for some reason, the ends of his eyes were subtly red, and his expression was gloomy, with a hint of irritation. Mo-Run trailed a step behind, looking both helpless and amused. Unbeknownst to the assembled cultivators, oh, here's the tea. I'm not drinking tea today, but we're getting it anyway. Chuaning had heard Taobao Estate's spiritual bird calling outside their cottage the night before. Worried some urgent matter had arisen, he'd meant to go out at once to see what was going on. However, Taishanjun's personality had been in control at the time. The former emperor of the mortal world cared little for other people's troubles at the best of times, and once he was in the mood, he wouldn't stop for anything. Chuaning had tried to cut their activities short several times. At first, Taishanjun appeased him, saying things like, almost there, and as soon as we're done. But of course, Mo-Run was lying through his teeth. It's the switch. We're still switching between the two again. There was no such thing as almost or done with him in the bedroom. Ma Yun's cock could crow until it dropped dead, but Taishan Jun's cock wouldn't show the slightest sign of flagging. Eventually, after Chuaning repeatedly told him to wrap it up so he could go outside, Taishan Jun flew into a rage and tied him to the bed. To put the notion out of Chuaning's head completely, he fed him a few drugs that could not be disclosed in polite company. As a result, even after midnight came around and Mo Zongsha's personality took over, he found it impossible to stop once he saw the state Chuaning was in. She's literally just summarizing this for us. She's not, we're over here like, gee, I wonder how this played out in excruciating detail. And she's like, no, you're not getting that. This is Shuimeng's POV. We hopped over to Chuaning and Mo-Run earlier in this bonus story, but we're not doing that. Mean Bun, I'm telling you. She has the wrong name. Not until Chuaning groggily woke the following afternoon did he finally receive the message from Taobao Estate and learn about the mess the scroll spirit had made in Linan. The delay was Taishanjun's fault, but Mo Zongsha and Taishanjun were the same person. Either way, the blame fell squarely on Mo-Run. Chuaning had refused to say a word to him the whole way down the mountain, treating him like a particularly persistent statue. Chuzongsha, Mo Zongsha! Welcome, Chuzongsha and Mo Zongsha. The message had explained the cause of the scroll spirit's rampage in detail. When Chuaning walked into the hall and saw Shuimeng, he didn't know what to do. He had half a heart to reprimand him, yet he was also mindful of his disciple's present status. It wouldn't do to embarrass him. Eventually, Chuaning knit his sword-like brows. I always have to prepare myself for the first time speaking as Chuaning. How did this get out of hand? Shuimeng had been disconsolate, but now that Chuaning had arrived, finally, his unhappiness evaporated. Shizin, the scroll spirit's copying me, he explained in a rush, but I didn't do it on purpose. Mo-Run's brows went up. Shuimeng, I thought you'd stopped playing with the matching scroll after we said goodbye at Wuchang Town. Why should I? Mo-Run wanted to roll his eyes in frustration, but the brotherly code forbade him from leaking what he thought was the secret Shuimeng had shared with him. Behind Chuaning's back, he mouthed to Shuimeng, "You idiot! You think playing around like this is giving Jianzhongmen the respect he deserves?" Shuimeng had no idea what he was saying. Why are you speaking so quietly? Did you lose your voice? Mo Run seethed in silence. Italicized, so therefore mouthed. Dumbass, you dug your own grave. Regardless of Mo Run's feelings on the matter, Shuimeng's problem had ballooned out of control. They would do all in their power to help. The only issue was, you want Shizun to dress up like a woman? It's not like I want him to, Shuimeng said, abashed. Maybe we can have Guiwei write a prescription slip that says, hereby certifying that this person is he snuck a glance at Chuaning's stern expression, and the phrase, is female, simply refused to leave his lips. Mo Run's eyes had widened in alarm, as though the sky was about to fall on his head. How could he possibly allow Chuaning to appear in public dressed in such a way? He glanced at Shuimeng's embarrassed, stymied expression. After a long pause, he said, I'll do it. Oh no, excuse me. Excuse me. Flip that. Reverse it. He said, I'll do it. Shuimeng looked up in bafflement. I'll take care of the spirit scroll. Scroll spirit for him. I'm catching up. My brain's catching up. Because if this happens, we're going to get art of it. And either way, would have been devastating. But you're thinking it's going to go one way, and now she cuts right on over. I'll take care of the scroll spirit for him, Mo Run said solemnly. You're going to dress up as a woman? Why not? Daga, have you looked in the mirror? Mo Run froze, eyes welling with hurt. He turned to Chuaning. Shizun, Shuimeng says I'm ugly. He sounded dejected. No, that's not what he's saying. He's saying your sheer virile masculinity is what he's saying. Chuaning knew Mo Run was only looking for an excuse to speak with him, and that this was the verbal equivalent of pouting. He couldn't be bothered with him right now. He methodically drank his cup of, new word, Juyiching, green tea, then looked up. Why does anyone need to dress up? Don't we have a convenient solution right in front of us? Everyone gave him a quizzical look. Chuaning turned his face ever so slightly toward Mo Run. Give him your Changkun pouch. These were the first words Chuaning had said to him since they'd left Nanping Mountain, and Mo Run was at first delighted. But Chuaning's glum expression and clipped tone instantly left Mo Run slightly crestfallen again. He looked like a lord getting scolded by his charming concubine while she rummaged through his money bag, unsure if he was supposed to be happy or sad. A cultivator's Changkun pouch was akin to their life savings. Chuaning was asking for Mo Weiyu's entire accumulated wealth, and without any courtesy at that. But he had no choice but to hand it over, no matter how put upon he felt. Why, oh why, had he been such a beast last night? Everyone looked on wide-eyed as Chuaning rifled through Mo Run's possessions, eager to see what this so-called convenient solution might be. All of these Zongsha seemed to be slightly unhinged. That's putting it fucking mildly, Jiangxi's cross-dressing had involved a fake prescription. What kind of shocking idea would Chuaning cook up? Maybe he'd command 10 Holy Night Guardians to walk behind him with a banner saying something like, Introducing Yuheng of the Night Sky, the Beidou Immortal, Miss Chuaning. That comes with a footnote somehow, written with different, more stereotypically feminine characters for Wan, graceful, gentle, and Ning, freeze, solidify. Then they're telling us what his name was written, Miss Chuaning. Thank you. As everyone's imaginations were running wild... I don't know why she had to call out the chat like that. Chuaning said impatiently, brows drawn into a forbidding scowl, What's all this junk in your Changkun pouch? Mo Run rubbed his nose self-consciously. In the past, he'd always kept his Changkun pouch neat and organized, but ever since all his souls had returned to this body, the switching of his personalities also extended to the contents of his Changkun pouch. For example, Taishanjun would secretly stuff chili pepper seeds into the pouch, concocting some outlandish fantasy of growing chilies on Nanping Mountain. Once Mo Zongsha took over, he'd pour all the seeds out. When Taishanjun returned, he'd furiously swear to get back at his other self. He'd scramble all the items in the Changkun pouch and smash to pieces anything Mozongsha had gathered, or else go down the mountain and pawn it for nice clothes for himself. As a result, the Chankun pouch was eternally a hopeless mess. Boys. It was hard to find anything in such chaos. Chuaning dumped several of the bulkier items onto the table. Xuemeng leaned over for a look. Some notes on gods and demons. That's my book, Morun explained. I'm trying to get a better understanding of the ancient struggles between gods and demons. Oh, nice. Xuemeng picked up another book. Songs of a Starlit Night. That one contains tales of all kinds of cultivators from the past. They're famous for different reasons, some good and some bad, but all of them are interesting figures with their own visions and motives. The cultivators are like stars illuminating the night. Some bright, some dim, yet all with their own brilliance. It's quite an interesting read. I don't know if I've ever mentioned the rule of three to you, but it's a very broad thing, the rule of three. Just a general rule of narrative in like all forms. It can be applied, it's applied in all manner of way. But basically, the first time is a setup, the second time establishes the pattern, and then the third time breaks the pattern. It's it. That's it. It's that simple. So we've had two perfectly normal book titles. And we know that Taishan Jin has some level of influence over this Chankun pouch. Wow, you've made a lot of progress, said Xuemeng, clearly surprised. Why do you sound like you know what you're talking about? Morun laughed. Shizin's taught me well. Xuemeng uncovered the next book. Birth Aftercare for Sows. Morun's smile stiffened. After a moment, he said resolutely, Taishan Jin bought this book. It's not mine. Xuemeng stared at him, at a loss for words. Chuaning had been determinedly ignoring their conversation, but at this he looked up. What did he buy this for? We aren't raising any pigs. Here's why, said Morun. He went down the mountain in disguise and saw that the villagers were holding a livestock breeding competition. For some reason, he was very confident in his abilities, so he went to give it a try and lost to the village's veterinarian Wang. That made him mad, so he went and bought this book. He vowed to study hard so he'd win the top prize next year and avenge his loss. The more he explained, the more embarrassing it sounded. When he heard one of Taobao Estate's disciples snickering, Morun trailed off and glanced nervously at Chuaning. Why did you participate in a livestock breeding competition? Chuaning asked incredulously. There was prize money. A faint blush was spreading across Morun's cheeks. He lowered his head. I thought, if I won, I could use it to buy you some nice robes from Feiyun Temple. This answer only made Chuaning more bewildered. Feiyun Temple is close to Jiangdan Pavilion. That Hua Rui sent over 8 entire trunks of clothing a while ago. You burned them all without a word, yet now you want to buy their clothes. That's different, Morun said, instantly cross. There's something wrong with the way that girl looks at you, as if I don't know what she's up to. Did you see the thing she sent? Outer robes, hair crowns, undergarments. Morun's face darkened as he spoke. She's delusional if she thinks you'd wear those clothes. It was hard to say whether Chuaning looked more exasperated or embarrassed, but his dark eyes softened at last. He pressed his lips together, then asked, Are you the Morun from this timeline, or the past lifetime right now? Of course I'm from this lifetime, Morun answered, taken aback. Why are you asking, Shizun? Right now, you seem just like the past life's Morun, said Chuaning, eyes glimmering faintly with amusement. Nobody move. I just got very lightheaded. Nobody fucking move. I gotta remember to breathe. His demeanor was as cool and aloof as ever, so no one in the crowd noticed Chuaning's mirth. But to Mo Run, the slight shift in Chuaning's mood was like the difference between a snowstorm and a sunny day. Realizing Chuaning wasn't angry with him any longer, Mo Run lowered his lashes and laughed, cheeks dimpling softly. Before Mo Run could say any more, Chuaning turned his face away. I'm awkward before all these watching eyes. But the way he was ignoring Mo Run now was entirely different from his frigid silence on the way here. Mo Run chuckled quietly to himself again as he stood obediently by his side. At last, Chuaning found what he was looking for within the Changkun pouch. Was what I'm trying real hard to form words. Was he was Chuaning referencing being under Taishanjun's influence last night and how Mo Run kind of acted similarly to Taishanjun after, he took over? Or was this I low-key know that you're actually Taishanjun right now? And also, as I'm saying this, Mo Run slipping into Taishanjun behavior? The way Taishanjun was able to just so effortlessly slide into Mo Run mode a while back? Ooh, if you think I know where my spot was, I'm not even on this page. Yes, I am. The illusory brocade sachet, he announced. His slender fingers drew out an embroidered pouch by its cord. Sold with the matching scroll. It disguises the wearer's appearance without requiring any physical changes whatsoever. Duh, why didn't we think of that? Well, no, it's me. Why didn't I think of that? Chuaning paused, looking around at the speechless contingent from Taobao Estate. No one thought of this, he asked in disbelief. Listen, some of us are desperate for a roast, okay? So we're not exactly thinking about that right now. We can miss some terrifyingly obvious details, perhaps. The inventors of the matching scroll and its accompanying can I read today? Illusory sachet shook their heads one after another. The answer to this problem had been quite literally in their hands this whole time. At least the issue of dolling someone up had now been solved. Everyone let out a muted sigh of relief. By this point, it was almost dinner time. The group shuffled into the dining hall to eat before the scroll spirit showed itself again that night. On their way, Mei Hun Shui ducked over to Shui Meng. Shui Ziming, he murmured into his ear. Shui Meng was instantly wary. What do you want? Mei Hun Shui laughed quietly. Can I tell you a secret? Intuition told Shui Meng it would be better not to listen to any of Mei Hun Shui's secrets. Alas, curiosity won again. What secret? I actually thought of Chu Zongshi's solution a long time ago, Mei Hun Shui revealed conversationally. Shui Meng gasped, then turned to glare at him. Then why didn't you say anything? Wasn't it Zheng Yichen who had to dress up last time? Mei Han Shui grinned. I wanted to give him a hard time, and give you something to laugh at. That's so sweet in such a Mei Han Shui way. Oh, he just wanted to make The leader with a really tragic backstory. Oh, happy. Okay. Oh. Holy shit. Oh. A couple of people have mentioned lag in their streams right now. And just to help out with information, I don't have any dropped frames or lag on this end. Everything's green, everything's fine on my end. Okay. Shuimeng had been prepared to chew him out, but at this, his insult stuck in his throat. Mei Hunshui laughed. Aren't you going to thank me? No freaking way. What about after Jiangxi? Why didn't you say anything then? Oh, after Jiangxi. Mei Hunshui paused, mirth dancing in his limpid green eyes. He tapped a finger to his lips. I didn't say it then because I wanted to give you a hard time and give myself something to laugh at. As Shuimeng's face went white with anger, Mei Hunshui added, and by the way, you lost the bet. Don't forget our agreement. I'll be waiting. Fuck you, Shuimeng shouted, all self-restraint gone. Wait forever for all I care. You want me to dress up like a girl for you? Keep dreaming. Maybe in the next life. That wasn't a firm. No, that was a maybe for the next life. The ruckus drew the surprised gazes of everyone around them. Now the bet was known to everyone. Shui Zhengmen said he'd cross-dress, someone muttered. There's no way. He's going to eat his words for sure. Poor Mei Guangzhe. He won the bet, but he's still getting an earful. How sad. Shuimeng's face grew increasingly dark amidst the chatter. Mei Hunshui smiled broadly. You really won't do it? Shut up! So stubborn, said Mei Hunshui. He elbowed Mei Hunshui. Gah, look at him. Isn't he funny? Mei Hunshui glanced at Shuimeng, who was starting to resemble an angry pufferfish. He's not funny, he said flatly. And you shouldn't make him dress like a girl. Why not? He's so spicy. You... Shuimeng sputtered. You... He is spicy, though, Mei Hunshui said expressionlessly. My eyes are burning just looking at him. Shuimeng's head was about to explode. Mei Hunshui was worse than Mei Hunshui. Mei Hunshui might have called him spicy, but Mei Hunshui had the nerve to say he made his eyes burn. Now Shuimeng was truly livid. Mei Hunshui, he roared, get back here. Who makes your eyes burn? Have you ever seen me dress like a girl? You think I'm scared? If you think you're so great, why don't you see who's better looking between the two of us? I refuse to lose it until it's happening. The bet coming to fruition. I refuse. I will not. She won't get me again. Oh, that happened so suddenly I couldn't even reach for the cough button. I won't. She's not going to get me again, and that's usually when she fucking gets me, so... Mei Hunshui's laughter pealed out. Hey, are you really going to... No. Mei Hunshui cut him off, grabbing his arm. He turned to Shuimeng. Like you said, save your cross-dressing for the next life. Huh? Shuimeng pointed at Mei Hunshui, scowling furiously. Who said I'd do it in the next life? What I say? Mei Hanshui raised his brows. You just said it yourself. Anyway, please focus on being a proper sect leader in this lifetime. Don't be such a brat. Shuimeng could no longer form coherent sentences. You, the nerve of you. Did you just say? Yes, I did, said Mei Hanshui. He blinked, his gem-like eyes filled with mockery. It's a promise, then. You owe us this bet. We'll wait for you in the next life, Miss Shui. It's almost the end of the, hold, please. Shuimeng was thunderstruck. He shouted after Mei Hanshui as he turned away. What did you call me? Mei Hanshui! Stop right there. I'm gonna fucking kill you. Don't you move a muscle. It's the end of the chapter. Listen. Fucking listen, okay? Either this next chapter starts and I don't know, Shuimeng self-righteouses himself into drag, or this all amounts to nothing but diverts into something else that is somehow, in a very meat bun way, 10 times more than she's even talking about now, which is a tall order, but I've seen her do it before. We're on page 205 for chapter 20 of 21, I believe. In the interest of being thorough, Taobao Estates Elder Chen asked Shuimeng to assess the disguised Chuaning before his shizun was due to face the scroll spirit. Shuimeng was to see if there was anything he found unsatisfactory about Chuaning's female appearance and to report back on whether it fit his tastes. Hope this doesn't awaken anything in him. Shuimeng was still so furious with Mei Hanshui, his heart ached. That's not how you describe fury, but all right. And now Chen Shuan had come barreling over with this ridiculous request. Rubbing his chest, Shuimeng fumed. Nonsense. How could there be anything unsatisfactory about my shizun? He's the best in every way. Honey. Yeah, Shui Zhongmen. He might be your shizun, but he's not the scroll spirit's shizun, Chen Shuan replied. You have to put your own opinions aside. The scroll spirit has no history with your shizun. Try to look at Chu Zongsha with a stranger's eyes and see whether or not he meets your requirements. Why would I think Shizun's great in every way just because of our history? Shuimeng's eyes widened. I'm telling you, if the scroll matched me with my Shizun, I'd definitely think he was the most amazing person in the world, even if I had no idea who he was, 100% guaranteed. How many dominoes has she put up at this point about Shuimeng's unbelievable gayness? How many? How far back are we? We have to be nearing triple digits. Like, how every single time she has done something half as blatant as this, she set a domino, and she's been doing that ever since, for like 10 and a half volumes now. We gotta be. I think nearing triple digits is a conservative estimate. They're all gonna come tumbling down is all I'm saying. but she keeps placing him farther and farther back. I'm not doing well. I was supposed to turn the page. Shuimeng's tone was forceful, but Chen Shuyuan persisted. No, we have to do a test run. Gotta debug it, just in case. He shooed Shuimeng toward the room where Chuaning was waiting. But when Shuimeng reached the door, he froze. Was this not the very same room in which Chuaning had slept when they'd stayed at Taobao Estate all those years ago? If Meat Bun was any kind of a merciful god, this bonus story would end with Shuimeng in the same room. At the time, Shuimeng hadn't known what Moran and Chuaning were up to, and he'd barged inside with nary a thought. Moran had been forced to take refuge behind the curtains surrounding the bed. Only much later had Shuimeng come to know that the misty sheen and reddened corners of Chuaning's eyes that night had not been due to fever, but rather... Enough! No point dwelling on the past. How many times has he dwelled on this past, I wonder? Wary of history repeating itself, Shuimeng resolved to let them know loud and clear that he was here, especially Moran. He could not allow Moran to do such a shameless thing again. Not on his life. Shuimeng paced back and forth in front of the door, coughing loudly. Then he decided he might as well stomp on the blue stone path, too. He leapt into the air, spun around, and landed with a thud. The door creaked open. Moran's tall, broad figure appeared in the doorframe, smartly dressed despite the hour. He stared at Shuimeng as though at a ghost. "What are you doing?" He had caught Shuimeng in a low squat, arms outspread like a freshly landed goose. Shuimeng turned his head. His mouth opened, but before he could answer, Chuaning's cool voice drifted out from the room. "Moran is the resentful spirit of a maiden haunting our doorstep." He laughed. "No, it's just Shuimeng." He lowered his voice and smiled down at Shuimeng. "No need to be shy. Just knock next time." With all the coughing and stomping, we thought the courtyard was haunted. Shuimeng straightened up, no longer resembling a peacock fanning its tail. He was only stopped from spitting in his cousin's face by Chuaning calling, "Don't block the sect leader's way. Let him in." Shuimeng blinked. Since he'd assumed the position of sect leader, it was only proper that Chuaning, as the Yuheng elder of Xisheng Peak, refer to him by his title. But no matter how many times he heard it, Shuimeng's chest still tightened. If they don't somehow, I don't even know how, if they don't somehow clear up this misconception that calling him by his title is an aloof distance thing and not a, oh my god, I'm so proud that my little fucking disciple is a sect leader now, and so therefore I must dignify him by calling him by his formal title. If they don't clear that up, I'm not going to forgive her. That's painful to the soul. Grinning, Moran shifted aside. "Come on in." "I have something private to discuss with Shizun," Shuimeng said curtly. "You may leave." "Oh, are you here to rehearse for the scroll spirit?" Moran magnanimously refrained from bickering with Shuimeng. "Elder Chen told us we should run through possible scenarios to avoid any mishaps," he said with a smile. "What mishaps?" Shuimeng crossed his arms and rolled his eyes. The spirit is copying me, so of course it'll think Shizun is flawless." "Not necessarily." Moran seemed to be of the same mind as Elder Chen. He clapped Shuimeng on the shoulder. "You think he's flawless because he's your Shizun. If you'd met Shizun instead of mistreated on that blind date without knowing who he was, I'm pretty sure you'd have argued with him too." "Impossible." Moran didn't take the bait. He tilted his head and, still smiling, stepped out of Shuimeng's way to wait outside. Shuimeng found Chuaning by the window, having already activated the illusory sachet. His eyes went round. He saw a slender, lovely lady cultivator sitting by the sill. Her skin was clear and bright, like a queen of the night flower unfolding amidst serene darkness. Ethereal and pale as ice. Her neck rose in a long, elegant column from her snow silk collar, and the candlelight wreathed her taut, luminous skin in plush shadows, casting a hazy glow over her smooth brow, long lashes, the gentle curve of her nose, and the pale, delicate contours of her lips. Radiance trailed along the first fine line of her jaw, the warm light leaving only softness in its wake. So this was what Chuaning would look like as a woman. The sheer and utter perfection. I mean, of course, it couldn't be anything less than this. Come on now. That's just the rule. Wait a minute. I'm probably so slow on the uptake. But this is like the one woman that he should be attracted to. The one. The one. If there was any woman. Shuimeng stammered. Shizin. Chuaning put down the long silver spoon he was using to fiddle with the candle wick and turned to face him. Her features alone were objectively beautiful. But this illusion of Chuaning also retained a solemn aloofness. The eyes under her slender brows had a charming shape, their ends slightly red, like the blush on dewy high-tongue blossoms. Yet her gaze was cool, exacting, and guarded. This woman was a beauty, to be sure, but a cold and intimidating one. Chuaning glanced at Shuimeng. Not very pretty, I'm afraid. Dazed, Shuimeng blinked. Huh? Chuaning frowned. I'll probably scare the scroll spirit away. Can the other bonus story be Chuaning finding a scrap of self-esteem? Probably not, but I thought I would ask. Only then did Shuimeng's brain catch up to his mouth. What? He blurted. No, how? You look great. Really, really great. Chuaning had never been confident in his looks. Or anything else. He'd seen too many stunning beauties across 2 lifetimes. Besides Mo Run, there had been Xu Mingjing and Song Chutong, both lovely beyond compare. Chuaning was aware that his looks were severe and forbidding. That much, at least, was evident from Shuimeng's wordless shock. It seemed Mo Run was truly the only one who would tolerate him. He shook his head. Sit. Shuimeng took a cautious seat at the table. Chuaning settled across from him. He brushed his sleeves back and poured 2 cups of tea, then looked up. Appearance isn't everything. Personality counts for something, too. What are you looking for in a girl? It won't be. This won't be how it happened. Everybody calm down. This isn't going to be how that happens. No. No. Earlier, in front of everyone at Taobao Estate, Chuaning had ticked off more than 300 requirements, scarcely pausing for breath. But faced with this question from Chuaning, he was suddenly rendered mute. There was nothing more important to him than appearing wise in front of Chuaning. He didn't have the audacity to list his criteria to his Shizun one by one, then tell Chuaning to act accordingly before the scroll spirit. I don't really have any requirements, he guiltily stammered. Just alive and female, that'll do. Chuaning's hand froze with his teacup halfway to his mouth. He gazed at Chuaning through the spiraling steam. Is that so? Yeah, compatibility is the most important thing. That's pretty much it. Chuaning's eyes flicked up coolly. How did I come to hear that you had an exceptionally high number of requirements? Chuaning flapped his hands. No, never. They didn't understand what I was saying. They're just making things up. So I don't need to be diligent and good at cleaning. How could I let you do the cleaning? Chuaning exclaimed. I prefer girls who've never even seen a laundry tub. I don't have to stand to see you off at the door and kneel to welcome you home. Hoi, I'm not Japanese. I don't have to be quiet and respectful and refrain from striking out or talking back. Never. I like girls with a strong personality. I don't need to know how to cook. I want a pampered princess, said Chuaning. I couldn't stand it if we fought over who holds the spatula. Chuaning's eyebrows rose minutely. I seem to remember you had no interest whatsoever in cooking. It's a new hobby, Chuaning explained haltingly. I only recently picked it up. After a pause, Chuaning asked, And you don't care whether your elders would approve? No, I'm in charge of who I like. After this thorough questioning, Chuaning left at last. Mo-Run slipped back into the room, brimming with curiosity. Chuaning, how'd it go? How long's his list of requirements? Chuaning shook his head. Nothing very specific. The others misunderstood him. Chuaning has grown a lot in the past 2 years. I'm glad to see it. This wasn't at all the answer Mo-Run was expecting. As a former naughty disciple who'd often deceived his teacher and then lied to get out of punishment, Mo-Run sensed instinctively that there was something strange, something off about this report. Could it be that Chuaning hadn't grown up, but rather the gullible Chuaning had been duped? That's a scene break. Let me check to see how many. Okay. We actually tend to go a little bit longer in the reading streams these days, so we don't have to break necessarily right at 4, is all I mean. We're on page 211. Show of hands, who's clawing the fucking walls right now? I can't, because I'm in front of people. But I'm legitimately... I'm ransacking a room in my head. I am in a rage room in my head. Can't... The way that she, you know, one way or another, here's the thing about Meat Bun. She will beat the shit out of you. There are so many different ways that you can beat the shit out of someone through storytelling. And in almost every way, actually, she will beat the shit. She will beat the shit out of you. One way or another. Yeah, maybe I'm not even tearing apart a rage room in my head. Meat Bun is flinging me back and forth like the fucking Hulk to Loki in the first Avengers film. I'm getting slammed repeatedly into the ground. Shortly after nightfall, A Taobao estate disciple came to announce that the scroll spirit had appeared at a pleasure house in the southern quarter of the city and demanded the company of their finest courtesan. But all the women who'd met the scroll spirit previously had been afflicted with grave changes to their personalities, whether it was drawing chest hair on themselves or becoming shrill and short-tempered harridans. Thus, the madam refused to allow her courtesan to see the scroll spirit. Luckily, several cultivators from Taobao Estate had made it over in time. They left a few people to contain the spirit, then returned to ask Chuaning to make his appearance. We've already snuck the courtesan out of the pleasure house. Chuaning, the rest is up to you. You have to keep the spirit talking for at least 10 minutes so the narcotics can knock it out. The scroll spirit was mimicking Chuaning, Chuaning reminded himself. Although the spirit was mercurial in nature, Chuaning, when it came down to it, was a reasonable young man with a good heart. Distracting the scroll ought to be child's play. Yet, in this, Chuaning was gravely mistaken. Among his 3 disciples, Mo Run had deceived Chuaning in the past because he was terrified he'd lose control and end up in his bed. He'd pretended not to like Chuaning. Shimei had harbored evil motives and been terrified of accidentally revealing his true self, so he too pretended not to like Chuaning. Neither of them had cared about trifles like whether Chuaning knew how to cook or do laundry. Chuaning, however, was different. Chuaning had pretended to like him. Of course, one could like another person in a number of ways, and not all were equal. Chuaning truly, genuinely liked his shizun, but at the same time, many of Chuaning's habits were impossible for him to accept. In the interest of earning his shizun's approval, he'd grit his teeth and ignore his conscience to say things like, "Shizun's the coolest," or "Shizun's clothes are super clean," or "Shizun's cabbage and tofu is so delicious," while practically gagging. The scroll spirit was not the same. It was a simulacrum of Chuaning whose positive feelings toward Chuaning had been removed. Perhaps predictably, the initial conversation between the scroll spirit and Chuaning went like this. "You're the finest courtesan here," asked the scroll spirit. "Yes," replied Chuaning. That would be in a female voice. Woo, if I can get out of that habit for this scene, that'll be a miracle. "You're not even as pretty as I am." Chuaning blinked. Was that what Chuaning truly thought? Well, fine. His looks were nothing special. But looks weren't everything. And besides, he'd been prepared for this after Chuaning's reaction. He could handle it. He carried his chin over to the spirit and asked calmly, "Would you like to hear a song?" "No, I detest music, especially those sleazy tunes from Kunlun Tashway Palace. They give me a headache." The scroll spirit popped a candied fruit into his mouth. Evidently, it had been frightened by Jiangxi after all. Despite shouting, "I, Zheng Yichen of Guiwei, will be back," as it scampered away last night, it hadn't taken on Jiangxi's appearance this time. As luck would have it, the scroll had disguised itself as Chuaning instead. Thus, Chuaning was now faced with Chuaning carelessly bouncing his leg up and down as he ate. "Let's get to know each other." "Sure." "Can you cook?" "I only know how to make wontons and charcoal." "Are you serious? How useless." Chuaning's eyes went wide. What? Chuaning thought he was useless? That couldn't be right. "It's not that I don't know how to make anything else. I'm just not very good at it," Chuaning explained. "But I heard you like to cook, is that right? You said you don't want to fight over who holds the spatula." "Says who? Nonsense," said the scroll spirit. "A gentleman stays out of the kitchen. As a real man, why should I deign to cook?" Chuaning was at a loss for words. Great. So Chuaning had been lying to him? His brows inched up, a flinty edge appearing in his eyes. He was just about to see how much Chuaning had hidden from him. The ensuing conversation was even more confusing than before. The atmosphere grew increasingly combative. "Can you do laundry?" asked the scroll spirit. Soak the clothes in water for a while, then lay them in the sun to dry. Yikes, you're dirtier than a dog. Chuaning blinked. Will you stand to see me off at the door and kneel to welcome me home? You're not Japanese. Shit, you're bolder than a dog, too. Chuaning stared. Will you be quiet and respectful and refrain from striking out or talking back? I don't think you could beat me in a fight. God damn, you're meaner than a dog. Chuaning was beginning to notice a pattern. Will you make an effort to win over my parents and my shizun? I'd be dating you, not your shizun. Fuck, you're dumber than a dog. The scroll spirit took Chuaning's resulting silence as an opportunity to ask a question of his own. Will you be annoyed if I practice martial arts 24 hours a day and never have time to talk with you? Chuaning had had enough of being compared to a dog. His brows drew increasingly tighter in indignance. Shui Ziming, his disciple, had never shown signs of lying to him before. He had always been an honest boy, forthcoming about his likes and dislikes. This was what he actually thought. There are only 24 hours in a day, Chuaning gnashed his teeth. You're not going to spend any time in bed asleep? But this version of Shui Meng was vicious. All you think about is going to bed, huh? Could you show a little more initiative? You need to smile more. Put a little pep in your step. You should be thinking about how to look after your family. Don't just dwell on going to bed, getting pregnant, using your kids to increase your status, stuff like that. Read more recipes and fewer trashy novels. Be a good and virtuous wife. It's based on the entry quiz, isn't it? There was simply too much to object to in this spiel. Chuaning didn't know where to begin. He was mad enough to spit blood, yet he couldn't get a single word out. He fixed furious phoenix eyes on the scroll spirit's imitation of Shui Meng's face. At last, lips trembling, he growled, You. You what? Everything I've said is true. My wife has to be honest and pure. I could never be with a girl who spends all her time thinking of such sordid stuff. I don't think it'll work between us. Just look at you. You're lazy, your temper's terrible, you have no friends, and you're never satisfied. The scroll spirit got to its feet with a look of utter disdain. Forget it. I heard you were respectable and kind, but it seems like a total lie. Chuaning was so angry, he almost passed out. He was shizun to 3 disciples. Mo-Run and Shimei had both made him furious in the past. He'd always thought Shui Meng his most well-behaved student, the only one who never caused him grief. Never had he expected the scroll spirit to so badly expose the true feelings in Shui Meng's heart. All his disciples were the same in the end. Useless idiots, all 3 of them. I've heard enough, said scroll spirit Shui Meng, turning on his heel. Goodbye. At that moment, the real Shui Meng and Mo-Run were in a neighboring room with several other cultivators, listening for any disturbances. Chen Shuyuan held up an hourglass and babbled excitedly. We're almost there. Chuzongsha is a real master after all. Just a few more minutes and the spirit will be knocked out. The sound of a thunderclap from next door shook the walls. They heard the scroll spirit screeching. Oh, I'm getting beat up. Are you trying to kill me? Followed by an enraged shout from Chuaning. You just noticed. Help! Huh? The listeners blanched, then rushed toward the neighboring room like a swarm of bees. They flung the door open and saw Chuaning with Tianwen in hand, the blazing willow vine looped like molten gold around the scroll spirit's neck. The spirit's tongue lolled from its mouth, its eyes rolling back in its skull. Chuaning really had almost killed it. Chen Shuyuan lunged forward. Chuzongsha, please calm down. You mustn't. If you kill it, it'll expose everyone's secrets. Brows knit in a scowl, Chuaning snapped. So what? What's there to hide? Shizun, Shui Meng exclaimed. Much to Shui Meng's surprise, Chuaning didn't soften his tone at all. Shut your mouth, Shui Ziming. Once I've put this spirit in its place, you are next. Shui Meng was flabbergasted. What had happened to his shizun? Not only did he not call him sect leader for once. See? He said he was going to put him in his place. Instantly, Shui Meng's mind was awash in both joy and panic. It had been so very long since he'd been on the receiving end of his Shizin's temper like this. It was really such a joyful, nostalgic feeling. As for the panic, what in the world had the scroll spirit told Chuaning to make him threaten Shui Meng like this? The scroll spirit was about to breathe its last. Mo-Run hurried over and grabbed Chuaning's shoulder. Wanning, let it go. Chuaning's eyes flashed, sharper than a dagger. I'll kill it first, then I'll let it go. Mo-Run didn't know whether Mo-Run didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Heaven officials' blessing rules. Everyone drinks. By then it'll be too late. Everyone's secrets will be revealed. I have no shameful secrets to hide from the world, Chuaning shot back. Do you? Of course I don't, Mo-Run said with a smile. But not all secrets are secrets because someone's done something wrong. Sometimes people just have things they want to keep private, he said, trying to talk Chuaning off the ledge. It's not like he was dumb. Like what? Chuaning frowned. For example, Mo-Run leaned down and whispered in Chuaning's ear. Shui Meng watched Mo-Run's long lashes lower, covering the amusement and deep fondness in his eyes. The moment Mo-Run's lips stopped moving, Chuaning released the scroll spirit and recalled Tianwen. You were so... Mo-Run grinned almost bashfully, gaze still downcast. His dimpled cheeks brought a touch of youthful innocence to his manly good looks. Chuaning looked as though he might strike him, but Mo-Run grabbed his hand. Sorry, he said with a laugh. It's just that the scroll asked, and I didn't want to lie. I'm going to tear that questionnaire apart for what the fuck he's talking about. He dipped his head and interlaced his fingers with Chuaning's. Breath hot against Chuaning's ear, he whispered in a voice so low only the two of them could hear. But I definitely don't want anyone else to know you're my favorite. I don't have to tear apart anything, but I definitely don't want anyone else to know my favorite positions with Wanning in bed. Voice low or no, you're in front of people, guys. To say nothing of being in front of Shui Meng. On its own, this statement was brimming with amorous passion, but lamentably, Mo-Run had no idea what the scroll spirit had said to Chuaning. As soon as Chuaning heard the words in bed, he bristled like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. He rapped Mo-Run on the head and snapped, Bed? What bed? Could you show a little more initiative? You need to smile more, put a little pep in your step. You should be thinking about how to look after your family. Don't just think about this kind of nonsense all day. Read more recipes and fewer trashy novels. Be a good and virtuous wife. Everyone from Taobao Estate, along with Mo-Run and Shui Meng, was speechless with shock. The scroll spirit took advantage of the crowd's distraction to bounce nimbly to its feet. Yes, that's exactly right, it crowed. You've learned all my teachings, congratulations. It soared out the window as though weightless, shouting wickedly as it flew, I, Shui Ziming, will be back. Suddenly, Shui Meng understood the murderous mood Jiangxi had been in yesterday. This spirit was truly despicable. It's the end of the chapter. My fucking face hurts. I don't know about you. I got too many feelings and emotions happening all at once. Oh, there's too much joy. Oh, God. Oh, too much. Way too much. We're on page 221 for chapter 21. And we are going to take our break now. Let me gauge really quickly. All right, yeah, okay. I try to keep the break to 5 to 10 minutes, but if it was going to be like, if we had a lot of pages left here in this last chapter, then I was going to try to keep it like super tight. But it's pretty chill. We should have plenty of time. So I'm going to go refresh my drink and such. I don't even like the stream if like the stream if you have done what I have done so many times. If you have done this at any point in time, you are legally and morally obligated to like the stream because we have something in common. I'll be back in just a few minutes. Please enjoy the Gaywatch Garden and take a load off. And we're back. Let me make sure that I'm actually in the right. Okay, I am in the right spot. It doesn't look like I've been moving a lot, but I'll still get off center whenever things are getting crazy. So we just have to double check. We are on page 221 for chapter 21, the last chapter of this bonus story. And I believe I said this to the book chat. I'm not giving up roast hope until this entire volume is done, because I wouldn't put it past her to not in this big Chuaning bonus story and then somehow do by the time it's over. Everybody breathe. It'll be fine. Chuaning had lost to the scroll spirit in their confrontation, and so the temporary curse that had befallen the others transformed him as well. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about. There's so much going on. I didn't even fucking think about that. Oh my god. Oh my. When the flash of silver light faded, a snow-white cat sat solemnly on the floorboards. Its beautiful eyes, their ends tilted slightly upward, glared irritably at the crowd. Although they had known in advance this would be the outcome if Chuaning was defeated, everyone watching still sank into an anxious silence. The bee, Ma Fengzhe, the bird, Jiang Yichen, the white cat, Chuaning. What was the point of this? To collect a set of 7 zongsha and summon Shenong? The look in Chuaning's feline eyes was even more terrifying than Jiang Yichen's. Birds had limited ways to express themselves, while cats were more than capable of making their anger known. Mo Run, overcome with heartache and fondness, made to lean down and pick him up. The cat flattened his ears and puffed himself up, revealing sharp fangs as he opened his mouth in an enraged yowl. A female disciple couldn't help but exclaim, "So cute!" I feel like... No, it's not about the words I read. It's about something else. You'll find out in a second. When he heard this... I'm sorry. Woo! Where am I? I feel like Mo Zongsha let him lose on purpose, so he'd turn into a cat. When he heard this, Chuaning's eyes went round as he glared at Mo Run and growled low in his throat, "I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared. I'm not..." Things are happening. Hang on. Mo Run hurriedly raised a hand. "I didn't. I would never." Chuaning narrowed his eyes. He slowly raised a paw, intending to summon Tian Wen to interrogate Mo Run, but after a loud meow, all that came out was his soft, round paw. All that came out of his soft, round paw was a gentle beam of golden light. Combined with his little pink nose, it looked like this big cat was performing a party trick and sulking for show. Mo Run felt his heart stutter. He was down on one knee before he knew it, petting this bristling ball of snow-white fur. "Shizin," he murmured, eyes bright. This earned him a sharp meow and an even sharper swipe of the claws. As Mo Run sucked in a breath, Chuaning leapt over his extended hand in a fit of pique. Just like Jiang Yichen, he couldn't stand such embarrassment. After turning into a bird, Jiang Yichen had flown away at once. Chuaning, after becoming a white cat, also planned to flee without delay. Chuaning felt deeply guilty, but also worried. Chuaning couldn't fly. Would he be able to run all the way back up Nanping Mountain in this form? He sprinted over to block his way. "Shizun, calm down. I'll find someone to take you home, so..." Like a tiger charging down a mountain, the white cat batted Shuimeng's hand away. When Shuimeng still moved to pick him up, he unhesitatingly sank his sharp teeth into Shuimeng's fingertip. "Shizun!" Shuimeng and Mo Run cried out in unison. Now both disciples had been wounded in action. What an equitable teacher they had. Some of the greatest art that I have ever seen. The unbelievable, like, everything about it. Everything. Everything about this. Also, the fact that they gave us, the bee and the bird. I. Chuaning ran off without looking back. With a swish of his fluffy white tail, the cat vanished around a corner of the pleasure house. Shuemong took out. You think I can speak right now? Shuemong shook out his bitten hand. Before he could draw breath to speak, Mo Run was already jumping up to run after the cat. Don't go home alone. What if someone catches you and turns you into stew? Shuemong started after him too. Mei Han Shui held out an arm to stop him. Shuemong glared. What are you doing? Can't you tell he's mad at you? Asked Mei Han Shui. Let Mo Zongshe take care of it. When he's recovered in 5 days, it won't be too late to go to Nanping Mountain and talk to him. The hell are you saying? Shizhen likes me better than anyone. How could he be mad at me? Mei Han Shui leveled Shuemong with an inscrutable look. Are you sure you told him the truth about what you're looking for in a girl? You didn't lie to him because you wanted his approval? Shuemong was instantly overcome with guilt. Mei Han Shui came over and to stand next to his brother. I told you not to lie, he said with a grin. You should have told the truth. Now you've really stepped in it, haven't you? Shuemong wanted to argue, but he knew too well that he'd erred. His mouth opened and closed, and eventually he stammered, I didn't do it on purpose. I really think everything about Shizhen is great. Understandable. My condolences. Mei Han Shui cheerfully patted him on the shoulder. But both Chu Zongshe and Jiang Zhenju have been defeated. No one can help them now. A feeling of impending doom struck Shuemong. His head jerked up to meet Mei Han Shui's limpid green eyes. Mei Han Shui's smile seemed full of hidden implication. It's up to you now, Shui Zhongmen. Shuemong gaped at him. Why does it have to be me? Why can't it be you? Mei Han Shui rubbed his nose and laughed. Because the scroll spirit's tastes were modeled after yours. You've already seen me disguised as a woman, and you didn't seem all that impressed. But Shuemong trailed off. Do you mean to say you thought I was beautiful and were just too shy to say so? That you've actually been besotted with me this whole time? Shuemong's face turned ashen. Bullshit! Mei Han Shui let out a hearty laugh. If you admit you liked my disguise, I'll take care of the scroll spirit. If you didn't like it, then the spirit's your problem. So what's it gonna be? Compliment me or catch the spirit yourself. We know what he's gonna do. And yet that but I is gonna haunt me to the day I fucking die. Shuemong could hardly imagine a more difficult decision. Going down the path of seducing the scroll spirit wouldn't be the worst. Jiangxi, Ma Yun, and Chuaning had already done it. It wouldn't be that embarrassing for Shuemong to be the fourth. But if he also lost and turned into the same kind of bird as Jiangxi, not only would people become suspicious, wouldn't he practically be asking for Mei Han Shui to grab him and pluck his feathers? How many ways can a character tell you that they're gay without telling you that they're gay? Exactly how many? Is there a record? Because I think it's been broken. As Shuemong wavered, Mei Han Shui flashed him a reassuring smile. Wouldn't it be easier to compliment me? Just say, May is fabulous, and I'll help you. Shuimeng wavered for a moment, then glared at Mei Hanshui's cheerful face. Hands balled into fists, he blurted through gritted teeth. Fabulous, more like floppy. May is floppy. He wasn't earlier, but we're not ready to talk about that yet. Mei Hanshui sighed. Blatantly false. Slander, I say. What's there to be afraid of? Shuimeng continued crossly. It's just another spirit to be subdued. I refuse to believe I can't take it down myself. Let's go take a look. He shoved the twins out of his way and stomped down the stairs. Not on pain of death would Shuimeng consider putting on a dress for real, so like his shizun, he used the illusory sachet. Clenching his fists and taking a deep breath, he stepped in front of the mirror and opened his eyes. The sight that greeted him was one he'd glimpsed once before in the gourd of debauchery. Everybody take a drink. Oh. Okay. Shuimeng examined his reflection from a variety of angles. The experience was extremely disorienting. The person in the mirror was beautiful, yes, but at the same time, every gesture looked inexplicably dopey. Of course, Shuimeng told himself, this aura was very regal and commanding on his usual self. But when he looked like this, he'd have to keep his mouth shut and stay as still as possible in front of the scroll spirit, like a wooden doll. Otherwise, if the scroll spirit was really adhering to Shuimeng's tastes, a woman like this wouldn't appear the least bit attractive the moment she moved a muscle. As he turned to the side to take another look at his ear, another face appeared behind him in the mirror. Shuimeng whipped around. What are you doing here? Mei Hanshui's tall, slender figure was leaning against the doorframe with his arms crossed in front of his chest. I'm here to give you a little advice. If you fail too, the spirit is going to become even more challenging to defeat. These words were very reasonable. Though Shuimeng wasn't happy to hear them, he couldn't find an excuse to chase Mei Hanshui away. He scowled. Are you even qualified? Mei Hanshui's brows rose. I thought you'd never even touched a girl's hand, said Shuimeng. As if you're one to talk. My standards are too high, Shuimeng snapped. My patience is too limited, Mei Hanshui replied indifferently. After a pause, he added, my current record is rejecting 73 lady cultivators for Hanshui in one day. Shuimeng lapsed into silence. How many? This was not said out loud. Could you do the same? Asked Mei Hanshui. Shuimeng pressed his lips together. He suddenly found Mei Hanshui's existence rather tragic. Here was a man in the prime of his life who spent his days sorting out his twin brother's dirty laundry. It would be a miracle if it didn't mess him up in the head. Taking Shuimeng's silence as an invitation, Mei Hanshui stepped into the room and closed the door behind him. Come here. It's her last fucking joke, I swear to God. What are you doing? Shuimeng demanded, hackles raised. He didn't move. Mei Hanshui strode toward him. He didn't come to a stop until he was so close Shuimeng could reach out and touch him. Unnervingly, uncomfortably close. His green eyes, like icy pools of jade, flicked downward, whereupon his golden lashes fell still. I'll teach you how to avoid getting rejected by a man. Mei Hanshui's gaze was sly and sardonic, those cool eyes glinting with contempt. Shuimeng couldn't stand this look of his. He reached up, intending to smack him, but Mei Hanshui grabbed his hand without even raising his eyes. That's only one of my favorite things. It's only one of my favorite things. It's only one of my favorite fucking things. It's only one of my favorite little things that happens That's only, ooh, We're breathing. We're breathing. We're breathing. I am not going to dignify her with a call for hand holding yet. Absolutely not. Nope. She's not getting me. Shuimeng's eyes flew wide in fury. What are you playing at? Get lost. You'll fail for sure. I need to calm down. You'll fail for sure like this. Ooh, no, the calm isn't going to happen. It's not coming. He twisted Shuimeng's arm. Before Chuaning could react, Mei Hanshui had effortlessly tossed him over his shoulder and onto the ground. The artists, however, are trying their best to give us the most. They're like, listen, we know what the bitch is putting you through, so we'll throw you a gay bone. Oh, I gotta get my face out of here. Thank you. What the shit? Such vulgar language will fail you too. Mei Hanshui stood over him, looking disdainfully down at the red-faced Shuimeng. Get up. If you don't want to get turned into a bird and let Hanshui pluck out all your feathers tomorrow night. How are we reading each other's minds? A pause. Mei Hanshui reached up to loosen his high, meticulously folded collars. Then he continued, voice cool and controlled. You know, even if she just trolls us, this takes the edge off. Then he continued, voice cool and controlled. I have one night to teach you a lesson. Shuimeng glared at him, the rims of his eyes scarlet with humiliation. Mei Hanshui ignored Shuimeng's ire. He held out his hand, long, slender fingers extended. If you please, Shui Zhongmen. Scene break. The next day. You see? You see? I'm telling you. I'm telling you. She gave us that to take the edge off. The next day, Chen Shuyuan of Taobao Estate once again arranged a date with the Scroll Spirit. Perhaps the spirit wasn't the brightest spell in the spellbook. After being fooled once, it seemed all too happy to be fooled again and cheerfully accepted Elder Chen's invitation. When he learned of this, Shuimeng scoffed contemptuously. It may have my tastes, but it's way dumber than me. Mei Hanshui looked him over, all dressed up for his date at a brothel in the eastern part of the city. He laughed and leaned in, intending to offer a few last words of advice. To his surprise, Shuimeng immediately raised his voice. Shoo! Just seeing your face makes me mad. He turned on his heel and strode off, a whole horde of Taobao Estate's cultivators following in his wake. Mei Hanshui stared after him blankly. How had he annoyed him this time? When they reached the brothel, Shuimeng took a seat alone in the room prepared for the mission, waiting for the scroll spirit to arrive. He was deeply displeased. Last night, he'd endured an entire evening of being nitpicked by Mei Han Shui, who'd criticized his every word and gesture for hours on end. After half a night of this torment, Mei Han Shui had concluded Shui Meng was a hopeless case, doomed never to master the conversational skills necessary to avoid getting rejected by a man. As dawn drew near, Mei Han Shui had advised him, "Enough. There's no need to continue. If things go south, just start complimenting the scroll spirit. You could probably fill up 10 minutes with flattery alone." Shui Meng had exhausted all his temper. He slept on the bed, disbelief written on his weary face. "Why didn't you say so earlier? You had to torture me all night long?" Mei Han Shui had glanced at the demoralized heap that was sect leader Shui and looked away without a word. Now, in the room at the brothel, the door creaked just as Shui Meng was calling Mei Han Shui a sicko under his breath. Shui Meng froze. The scroll spirit had come. Just as expected, a figure simultaneously familiar and strange appeared on the other side of the vermilion lacquered door. In the flickering candlelight, Shui Meng watched a copy of himself walk into the room. The scroll spirit waved brightly, an obnoxious gesture. "Little miss, pleasure to see you. This one, Shui Meng Shui Jiming, offers sincere greetings." Shui Meng blinked. The fact that he didn't kill the spirit on sight was nothing short of a miracle, he thought. Now he had to make small talk with the thing. Shui Meng had thought he'd prepared himself extremely thoroughly. Before the scroll spirit had arrived, he'd had no doubt his responses would satisfy his other self in every way. But once the actual back and forth began, Shui Meng found he had been horribly, horribly wrong. "Do you know how to do laundry?" asked the scroll spirit. Shui Meng immediately gave it the answer it wanted to hear. "Yes." "But your hands don't look like those of a girl who scrubs her own clothes." Shui Meng didn't know what to say. "Do you practice often?" asked the scroll spirit. "I do, sometimes." Shui Meng naturally assumed the scroll spirit was talking about martial arts. "It's not good for a girl to be too violent, of course, but I don't want to be totally useless either." "I was talking about dance practice. What were you thinking? As a girl, you're not the least bit demure or refined." Faced with Shui Meng's silence, the scroll spirit launched into more questions. "Will you stand up to see me off at the door and kneel to welcome me home?" This is how he realizes that he has moving goalposts for women? Shui Meng stared at his own face across the table. Usually he wouldn't think twice about speaking like this. But now that he'd been put in the listener's shoes, he suddenly found himself reflecting that he really deserved to be punched. Growth. Asking someone to stand to see him off and kneel to welcome him home? Did he think himself a god? A Fushi or Shannon walking among mortals? But for the sake of placating the scroll spirit, Shui Meng steeled himself. "Sure, why not?" "What a half-hearted answer. Sounds like you're just saying that. Where's the passion? Where's the sincerity?" The scroll spirit paused. "You're supposed to say, 'Of course I will.'" The conversation continued in this vein. Long before the time on the hourglass had run out, the scroll spirit rose to leave. "Sorry," it said to Shui Meng. "It's not me. It's you." Shui Meng was thunderstruck. All his answers had followed his own preferences and Mei Han Shui's suggestions to a T. How could the date be over? Panicking, he suddenly remembered the last thing Mei Han Shui had said. If things go south, just start complimenting the scroll spirit. "Wait!" Shui Meng cried. The scroll spirit turned in surprise. "What is it?" Shui Meng quickly adjusted his tone, masking his anxiety with a forced laugh. "I just wanted to say, Shui Jungmen, you're so handsome and cool and wealthy and powerful. How could you possibly spend your days in solitude with no one to admire you but yourself? Before you go, why don't you let me say a few words of appreciation?" "This sounds so unnatural," Shui Meng fretted. Who knew sucking up was a talent all its own? Hilarious if he wound up sucking his own dick. Much to his surprise, the corner of the scroll spirit's mouth twitched. "No need. I'll admit you're very pretty, but not pretty enough to make me fall in love at first sight. Besides, I can tell when someone's just trying to flatter me. Little miss, honesty is a virtue. I'd never want a social climber like you, who's only trying to get close to me because she wants to become a rich and famous sect leader's wife." Shui Meng's jaw dropped. "I hope you realize sooner rather than later that you should only give yourself away to someone you truly love. Don't be greedy, shallow woman. Goodbye." What in the world was this? Shui was so choked with anger he couldn't speak. How could someone talk to him like this? The insolence! As befitting a man taught by Chuaning and sired by Jiang Yichen, Shui was constitutionally incapable of suppressing his fury. Just like his Shizhen and his biological father, once his temper flared, his reason fled. With a screech of rage shrill enough to shatter the illusory sachet on his waist, he drew Longcheng and rushed toward the scroll spirit. Oh, he's totally gonna be the one to kill it. The scroll spirit paled and stumbled back. Someone's trying to kill me again. You bet your ass I am. Who said you could be so stuck up? Ducking Shui blows, the scroll spirit shouted, You vixen! Just because I rejected you, you're trying to kill me? You... As the blade came swinging down, the lamplight flickered. As the scroll spirit dove out of the way and turned back to scream at Shui it finally caught sight of Shui face. His real face. The spirit froze in place. At the strange look in its eyes, Shui instinctively took a step back and brought the scimitar up before his chest. What are you doing? He barked, raising his brows. The scroll spirit's mouth opened and closed, its eyes round with shock. You're a man? You don't say! As Shui tightened his grip on his hilt, he heard the spirit cry ecstatically, And such a handsome, powerful, and dashing man to boot! Shui froze. Eyes shining, the scroll spirit threw back its head in rapture. At last! I've found true love at last. Shui had never imagined, not in a million billion years, that this was how this saga would end. Scene break. So you see, Shui Ziming is so narcissistic that all we needed was for the original Shui to brandish his sword in front of the scroll spirit. One glimpse and the scroll spirit saw that there was indeed true beauty in the world. None of that laborious cross-dressing was required after all. Elder Chen Shuyuan stood in one of Taobao Estate's pavilions before Shui red-faced and flustered, and Master Ma, who'd at last recovered his human form. Now that the whole debacle was over, Master Ma giggled along with everything Shui said. Apparently, it didn't matter that Shui was the one who'd instigated the entire affair. These types of stupid and harmful scrolls should be banned from sale forever, Shui concluded angrily. Yes, Master Ma said with a broad, unflagging smile. I never want to turn into a bee again. To tell you the truth, I was terrified when I saw Jiang Zhongmen turn into a bird and Chu Zongsha turn into a cat. Both of them could have eaten me, you know? No more. I'm done. Shui rolled his eyes. Reluctantly, he agreed to drop the matter entirely. As for the subdued scroll spirit, Ma Yun sealed it in a little wooden figurine, small enough to fit in a man's palm. This he offered to Shui as a token of thanks. At first, Shui had tried to refuse the gift. The doll kept shouting in its tiny voice, Shui Zhongmen is so handsome and cool, so amazing and accomplished. In the past, such flattery would have struck Shui in the dead center of his heart. But after his harrowing experience, these sorts of compliments left him cold. Okay, that's enough, Shui said with a frown. I can't listen to flattery like this all day long. I don't want it. I won't take it. This thing is too phony. The little doll blurted in a panic, Shui is beautiful! Shui is beautiful! Then, in desperation, Madame Huang is the prettiest. Chu Zongsha is the strongest. As Shui stared at it, the doll whimpered, Don't leave me behind. Shui Zhongmen, you're so gallant and kind. A man's innate nature was a difficult thing to change. Deep down, Shui still enjoyed hearing these words. He grudgingly accepted the little wooden figurine and placed it safely in a box to bring back to Xishang Peak. Just before they were due to leave, the Mei twins sought him out. Shui Zhongmen, I just remembered, Mei Honshui began, eyes sparkling. Were you satisfied with Miss S? If you liked my service, might I ask you to leave a good review? Review my ass, Shui cut him off, glaring at both twins. Don't think I won't settle the score with both of you. I'm going to tell Mingyu Lo to put you in your place. Mei Honshui burst out laughing. Excuse me, Mei Honshui burst out laughing. Oh no, he said affectionately. Whatever will I do? Mei Honshui remained impassive. Shizun will go into seclusion soon. I'll be temporarily assuming sect leader duties at Tashui Palace. Shui Jungmen, you're welcome to come to Kunlun and tattle whenever you like. We'll roll out the red carpet for you. Shui Meng froze, then thundered. Mei Honshui, have you no shame? Does nobody at Kunlun Tashui Palace care about justice? The morning light shimmered down like golden threads stretched across a loom. It touched the white walls and dark tiles, Taobao Estate's barrier emblazoned with a scrolling black cat motif, the figures of the bickering young men, and the exasperated yet amused face of poor Master Ma, who was stuck trying to mediate the dispute. And so it went, everyone navigating the minor twists and turns of this peaceful existence. That's not the end, that's a scene break. A month later, Master Ma announced the winner of the Matching Scrolls sweepstakes. Under the pressure of Shui Meng's repeated threats, poor Ma Yun had no choice but to covertly grant the gift bundle to top user Wang Xiaoshui. The grand assortment of precious baubles and valuable artifacts was thus hauled off to Xishong Peak. As for the 500 volumes of erotica, Taishanjun of Nanping Mountain intercepted their delivery and snatched them for himself. Shizun said, if you give these books to him, he'll forgive you for lying to his face. This was the message Taishanjun sent to Shui Meng. A transparent lie. Shui Meng was dealing with sect business in Loyalty Hall when he received the voice-transmitting paper crane from Taishanjun. He was so mad he crumpled the little bird into a paper ball. Can you say that with a straight face? Shizun would never look at these books. Anyway, Shizun already forgave me ages ago. He wrote me a letter almost 2 weeks back. Mo Run, you shameless smut, trying to drive a wedge between us again. His anger was still not assuaged. He turned to the little disciple standing below the dais and commanded, Hey you, get a group together and go to Nanping Mountain. Take back those 500 volumes of erotica. Burn them all. The disciple looked back at him in terror, but he could hardly voice his thoughts. This is in italics. His thoughts. Sect leader. This is Taishanjun you're talking about. Stealing porn from Taishanjun is like trying to pull the fangs from a tiger's mouth. It's a suicide mission. Shui Meng glared. What are you spacing out for? We can't let Mo Run use such degrading material to harm the Yuheng elder. Hurry! The disciple had no choice but to scamper off. He hoped with all his heart that the one he encountered on the mountain would be Mo Zongshe. If he was lucky, perhaps he'd escape with his life. He pushed open the door. Brilliant sunshine spilled over the new jade board outside Loyalty Hall. Shui Meng had had the words, A loyal heart remains constant, reinscribed. The characters graceful and majestic. The calligraphy was unembellished with gold or silver, but the warm light burnished the sect's motto to a soft and lovely gleam. Slowly, the bitter partings and bloody wounds of the past were healing. The great battle receded 1 year, then 2. At last, those old friends left behind in this world learned again how to laugh, to bicker, to endure, to adapt, and to silently remember. Just as the young replaced the old, so too did exuberance replace sorrow, light replace darkness, and serenity replace uncertainty. Behold, no matter how long and dark the night, there would come a time when dawn would break. Joy and merriment would flourish once more in the light of a new day. Fuck. Oh. Oh. Okay, hang on. That's the end, as one might imagine, because she loves to fucking wax poetic there at the very end. And she makes points every single time. It's highly fucking infuriating. The one between bonus stories, which is very easy to glean just because the formatting is so like fucking wild, is like in chat format. So it's literally called server edition. So hang on, I'm just checking real quick. How long? Hang on. I'm getting a okay. Oh, this is the oh, so okay. When people said that there's a shorter bonus story that's wedged between the two longer ones, for some reason, I thought the shorter one would be like 5 pages, but I think this one is actually, hang on. It's actually more like 30 something pages. So if I guess Tuxedo Cat's divvying up correctly, this might be on Tuesday when we read more. This might be the only thing we read then. And if she put them in chat format, I think that's probably the only way to get more unhinged, right? And then after that is the actual like last big. I think that'll take up like the entire last quarter is then the last longer one. But that one, I think that one took up like over half the volume. Damn. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we'll be on page 239 for, oh, excuse me, I didn't read the title. For what is referred to as Server Edition. Something called Who Took Shui Meng Meng's Candies is the interim story between one long one and the next. And listen. If we get to the end of this volume and she doesn't, Shui Meng, not even to a gay realization, I will actually be a little legitimately angry at her. Just a little bit. I will actually kind of be angry at her. However, there is a whole other bonus story left. And so I'm not calling it, and I've been saying it. I'm not losing hope until the last fucking page. But if that does happen, and we get to the end, and she does all of that, only to give us nothing, I will actually be upset. Which is actually why I think she's gonna do the other thing I mentioned. She makes you think it's happening in this one, and then it happens in the next one. That's what I think she's doing. And it's only because I'm like, if she were to give us that and then actually not do anything, if that would like legitimately make me kind of angry, that's why I think, because like she's not, I don't want to say she's not stupid, but you know what I mean? She knows. And considering this is volume 11, she's earned a bit of trust. My patience is wearing a little thin, but she has earned at least enough trust for me to hear her out. So, it is time for me to go. What the hell is today? Today's Thursday. I have Whoa, we're really done with talking for today. I hope you are having a lovely week. We have book chats on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for patrons and YouTube members to get together and talk about what we just read. And I think it'll be an interesting discussion on Tuesday when we talk about what we read today for a variety of reasons, but it's always a good fucking time. There's also the link down in the description box of this stream that will take you to the public version of the Gaywatch Discord, which is where all of the bookish chatting things happen when I'm not streaming in front of you right now. And have a lovely weekend. Give the stream a like if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already for more of this sheer and utter fucking madness. And I will see you guys on Tuesday for where I think we're now getting down to, I think there may only be like 3 streams left. I think there's only 3 reading streams left for all of Erha. And then on May 7th, on that Thursday, is when we have the big party to say goodbye to Erha with, a couple of giveaways and such. Mark your calendars, save the date. Because that is not just for patrons and YouTube members. That's going to be for everyone. Big public party. Alrighty? I will see you on Tuesday. I love you very, very much. And please remember to take care of yourself.